So, for those of you in the back who may not have heard, he said, so you have to keep going through this over and over again, the separation over and over. Once you've reached moksha, do you still have to go through separation? Ideally, once you experience moksha, you can stay there. Meaning, you're in the body, but you are what you can call a jiva mukti. When we use the word jiva mukti, that's what it means. Free mukti while alive in the body. Now, on a more practical level, yes, what you have described is the way that it tends to happen. Meaning, I meditate, I pray, I live a deep spiritual life, I have an experience of moksha, an experience of freedom, an experience of oneness. And then it lasts a few seconds, a few minutes, a few hours, a few days. When you're really lucky. And then it dissipates. And then again, you're back in separation. And that's true. It does happen like that, yes. But it's not an endless cycle, and it's not a vicious cycle. Because two things are true. First of all, once you've actually experienced it, you know where you're headed. And so even though you may be back in a state of separation, there's a part of you that knows this is all drama. And you can watch it. Yeah, there's me being stressed. Yeah, there's me being jealous. Yeah, there's me being angry. But that part of you that knows doesn't actually go anywhere. And if you're able to quiet down, to slow down, even if you can't necessarily bring yourself back instantly into the moksha, you can bring yourself back into the experience of the part of you that knows. And so it makes this less difficult, on the one hand. On the other hand, it makes it more difficult. Because once you've experienced that, the separation from that feels even more painful. If you've never been in love, okay, you're moving through life. But if you've been in love and you've been broken up with, you're in much worse shape than you were before you fell in love. On the one hand. On the other hand, the part of you that has experienced love knows. And you have that. But in the moment, the emotional felt sense of the moment is absolutely much worse off than before you fell in love. So in the same way, when we've had that experience and then you're back in that state of, oh my God, separation. On the one hand, it's better than before because you know. On the other hand, it's worse than before because since you do know, to be separated on a felt sense from living in that knowingness, that connection, is much more unbearable than it ever was before you had the experience. But the good news is that once you've had it, you can access it again, of course. It's now your truth. Even if you can't necessarily live in it constantly, you can keep accessing it. This is why the practice is so important. That's why sadhana literally means spiritual practice, not once you've got there, you're done. It's practice. We keep practicing so that I can experience that state, that truth, that place, more and for longer and longer. And then also what you find as you go is that even though you do still fall back into separation, it's less far than it used to be. So it may not be exactly still living in that state of moksha, but it's also not all the way down into the state of complete separation and illusion. You're a lot closer. So yes, it is that cycle, but ultimately, eventually you reach a state where you're living in that all the time. There's a beauty, and this may sound weird, but I hope you can hear this. There's a beauty in the pain of longing. When you've really experienced that state of connection, and then you're in separation, the longingness that you have to reconnect, that pain that you experience in wanting to reconnect, there's actually a very deep beauty in that. There's a very deep sweetness in that. And so if rather than feeling tortured and kicked out of the Garden of Eden and, all of these feelings that we tend to have in those moments of coming out of it, if you can allow yourself to see the sweetness of that pain, the beauty of that longing, it'll make it a bit more bearable as long as it lasts. And then slowly, those periods will become shorter and less frequent. But use even the period of separation, or the period of what you feel is separation. God hasn't gone anywhere. We've gone someplace. Use that period to A, try to see why I've gone someplace. What is it that happened? And B, to just sit in the sweetness of longing. Because it's a very sweet place. And there's not a lot more I can semantically say about that. But I hope that you'll trust me on that, to just allow yourself to feel that.